Hi everyone, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. So it's been a bit. I had a video that I wanted to put up relatively soon, but I actually deleted it. It was a rant review of If I Run by Terry Blackstock. Terrible, terrible. But I I really have some strong feelings about it, and I didn't want to put that kind of negativity out there. I want to do less rant reviews, and like at the end of the year, then I'll talk about like my top 5 or 10 worst books, and then just touch briefly on it there, so that I'm not spending so much time on one book stressing about it. So anyway, today I'm wanting to talk about the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. I love this series so much. Every book was 5 stars. Caraval I read on the ebook, and I was gonna have to wait for these for about it was like several months or 20 weeks or something crazy like that on Libby. So I I had put off reading Caraval, the first book, for way too long. But the struggles of being a mood reader. I was constantly like not in the mood to read, and then when I would pick it up, I was very intrigued and I just wanted to read it all in one sitting, but then I kept having to stop and, do adult things. So and then I wouldn't want to pick it back up again. So it took me a long time to actually read Caraval, but when I did, I finished it in like a day or two, I think. And I took these out for about, I think it was 3 weeks. And I finished them both in like the first week. And they're gonna have to go back tomorrow. And I don't want to let go of them. I want to keep them. I will say though, one thing that bothers me is these covers. Like the cover is supposed to cover the book. I want to buy these books all hardcover, I think, because if they're all gonna be like this one, then no, I don't want it. But I don't want paperback. So anyway, I just realized I had wrote down some notes. Let me see if I can find them. Okay, so I have it written down in my Demon Slayer notebook here. So first I'm going to talk about the non-spoilers. I have the official synopsis for the first book written down because I'm terrible of like summarizing the plot. So I'm going to read it out. Also, my voice is not at its best because I'm a little sick. But anyway, official synopsis that you can find on like Goodreads. Scarlet Dragna has never left the tiny island where she and her sister Tella live with their powerful and cruel father. Now Scarlet's father has arranged a marriage for her, and Scarlet thinks her dreams of seeing Caraval, the faraway once-a-year performance where the audience participates in the show, are over. But this year, Scarlet's long-dreamt-of invitation finally arrives. With the help of a mysterious sailor, Tella whisks Scarlet away to the show. Only as soon as they arrive, Tella is kidnapped by Caraval's mastermind organizer, Legend. It turns out that this season's Caraval revolves around Tella, and whoever finds her first is the winner. Scarlet has been told that everything that happens during Caraval is only an elaborate performance. Nevertheless, she becomes enmeshed in a game of love, heartbreak, and magic. And whether Caraval is real or not, Scarlet must find Tella before the 5 nights of the game are over, or a dangerous domino effect of consequences will be set off, and her beloved sister will disappear forever. Welcome, welcome to Caraval. Beware of getting swept too far away. I absolutely love it, in case that's not obvious. So, as much as I love it, the first book especially, Stephanie Garber's prose kind of borders on purple prose, and there's a lot of very flowery descriptions and that kind of thing. Mostly in the first book. The other two, it's a little bit better. And Scarlet has what seems to be synesthesia, I think is how you pronounce it, where like emotions and different things have like, she sees like colors and that kind of thing. But it's actually revealed in the third book why that is. That's as much detail as I'm going to go into, but I found that really clever, and I don't know if Stephanie Garber planned that or what, but it was still really well done in my opinion. One thing I will say though is that the thing about Scarlet being whisked away, that gives the wrong impression, and that's been a critique for the book, which is understandable. It's a little misleading there, but everything else is accurate. So it's just a little bit of a poor wording choice in that little bit of the synopsis. But the setting and the aesthetic of this entire series is so enchanting and beautiful. And the thing is like, there's only certain types of fantasy that I can actually read, because I have a very hard time picturing things in my mind. Like, I can't read Lord of the Rings, I can't read any epic fantasies. I've tried to read, what's it called now? The Priory of the Orange Tree. I tried to read that because I've heard it's really good and that kind of thing, but I had no idea what was going on. My brain just doesn't work that way, I guess. So the fact that I could read this and figure out what was going on and that kind of thing and just picture everything so clearly in my mind was really special, because that doesn't happen for me very often. A lot of the male characters are more morally gray. I'm not going to go into specifics too much about that because that would be more spoilers, but I found it really interesting the way that the author was able to redeem them from any past mistakes, except for two, in my opinion. But I'll get back into that in the spoiler section if you're curious. One critique that I have with the first book is that there's not a whole lot of world building in that book, but the second and third book really kind of amp it up, and it's a lot more stuff is explained. There's no really full explanation. There are some things that it's like, oh, it's just magic, and a lot of people don't like that about it. But honestly, I loved the characters and the magic so much that I didn't really care that it didn't get explained. But some people do care, and so for some people that is a deal breaker, so just kind of know that going in. And another thing I don't have written down here, but a lot of people don't like the fact that like it's too hard to tell what's real and what's not. But the thing is, though, is that I actually really enjoyed that. And there were a couple of tropes in here in this series that I normally don't like, but because of the fact that you go into it knowing that it's uncertain what is real and what is not, so you're kind of bamboozled too. You're kind of questioning everything too. It's like, wait, this happened, especially in the second and third book. It's like, okay, well, this is what happened in the first Caraval, but in this one, it's things are said differently, so maybe the rules are different, and it's like a giant puzzle, and I felt like I was in Caraval with the characters, and it was amazing. So I really appreciated that and loved that, but again, that's something that can be a deal breaker for some people, so it just depends on, I mean, like any book, it depends on your tastes and what you like and don't like. But I'm really glad I took a chance with this series, because I had heard like so many good things about it. I had seen it on Book Talk, but I don't fully trust Book Talk because they also glorify the ACOTAR books. And if you've seen my rant review of that one, You know how I feel about it. So, I've tried a few different book talk recommendations. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the spoiler section. So if you don't want any spoilers, click off this video now. I want people to have a good experience with this and not have things spoiled. There was one video that I watched that was supposed to be, or was implied to be, a review of the first book, but the woman who made the video said a spoiler for book 2, and then after she said it, she said, "Oh, that's a spoiler for book 2, right, by the way." I'm not gonna do that to people. I was like, who does that? Anyways, I'm a little salty about that still, because it took some of the fun out of it. I still think it was well done. I still think the reveal was well done, but it would have been so much better. Like, I still loved it, and I think it was written really well, but I would have loved it so much better if it hadn't been spoiled for me, obviously. So anyway, here's your last chance. Click off now. So let's talk relationships. I loved the relationship between Scarlett and Julian. They are probably, I don't know if I want to say they're my favorite book couple, because there are some really good ones. They're so good together. I wasn't sure about Julian specifically in the first book, because of all of the lying that he did and that kind of thing. I know that he did it for the right reasons. He did it to protect Scarlett, even though, she didn't realize it at the time. She didn't want that, that kind of thing. But it was to keep her safe ultimately, and that I can appreciate. That's what kind of makes him a bit more morally gray. That kind of goes away in the second and third books, and he just kind of becomes good and not so morally gray anymore. Which I appreciated. It was kind of like a little bit of a redemption arc to make up for like all the lies and that kind of thing. And yeah, he got really good. I was completely sold by the second book. So Finale, I think, is the best book in the series, because I loved how Stephanie Garber wrote these books, from the first book being the perspective of Scarlett, the second one being Tella's perspective, and then the third one switching between the two. I loved that. So I'm not sure where the video cut off there. I got a call and it automatically stopped recording. Oh, right, I was talking about how Finale was my favorite and that kind of thing. So I was about to say that the scene where Scarlett is forced by her father, what is it, the Fallen Star, I think that's what he's called, but when she's forced to try and turn his love to hate, and then he calls her Scarlet instead of Crimson, I started crying. I was like full on sobbing. I'm tearing up just thinking about it. It's so sad. He loves her so much, and like him begging her not to do it, it's just I was losing my mind. Oh my gosh. Yep, it was a lot, and I think I cried once during Legendary. I didn't cry at all during the first book, but Finale, I cried multiple times. I also cried when Dante / Legend confesses his love for Tella and says that he wants to become mortal for her. That redeemed Dante's character for me, because one of the things that I was mad at him for was saying that Tella was the prince's fiance, because it's like that set her up, I think. I mean, she would have gotten in touch with Jax anyway because he was her friend, but Dante didn't help the situation. He because then they had to act like a couple and everything like that. They wouldn't have had to do that if he hadn't lied. So I was really frustrated at him for that, but by the end of the series, I was sold. That made me cry too, because he wanted to hold on to it so much. One thing that I was pretty picky about, though, is the time travel aspect that gets introduced in finale. Like, I know, I forget his name, but I know the one Fate is like he does the time travel thing, and like that's one of his powers and whatever, but I feel like it was too vague, and I'm really picky with time travel. Normally that's a trope that I don't like, because it's like, I think it's called the butterfly effect, where, you know, you go back in time and you kill a butterfly, that can change the course of events drastically. So it's like, I I don't like that, because it's such a sensitive thing. But even if it had been specified, I don't like, if it had been specified more, I mean, I don't think I would have liked it, just because, like I said, I'm really picky. So I didn't really like that. It kind of took me out of it a bit. I liked the whole thing of Scarlet talking to her mom and getting the dress from her and that kind of thing. I liked that, but that was about it. Also, Tella being told that she would have a daughter, I don't think that was necessary, honestly. I feel like that part, like, even though it was just a brief part of the conversation, I feel like it just kind of wasted time, and I would have preferred if Tella had just told one of her secrets. I really loved the Fallen Star as a villain. He was so terrifying. He was so scary, and honestly, I did feel a little bit bad when Tella killed him, but it was necessary. It really was. And I can understand why Scarlet cried out no, because she saw the humanity in him right before he died. But I also know that if Tella hadn't taken that chance and killed him, that he would have gone back to not feeling human anymore, and he would have continued on his rampage. So while it was a little sad, it was also necessary, and that's another kind of like morally gray action, I guess. I loved the twist of Scarlet being his daughter, and it explained why Paloma would be willing to sacrifice Tella rather than Scarlet, because Scarlet was half Fate, so kind of like a demigod in a way, I guess, because the Fates are kind of like gods, right? And so the Fallen Star and Paloma, who's a human, I think, was she? Yes? I'm pretty sure she was. I'm a little foggy on that detail, but if I'm right, then that would kind of make Scarlet like a demigod in a way. So, yeah, it was a really good twist. It explained that part really well to me, because I didn't understand. It's like, what, why? What does it make a difference? Like, what the heck are you on about? Okay. Anyway, I'm done going down rabbit holes. The point is, I liked how that was explained. So, overall, this was an amazing series. And I'm going to read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series next, and hopefully it lives up to the same standards that Caraval set. But yeah, it's so good. Like I said, every book was 5 stars. That doesn't happen for me. Normally it kind of flip-flops a little bit. I think my least favorite is probably the first book, but again, it's still 5 stars. I still love it enough that it's 5 stars. Second favorite is the second book, and then the third book is my ultimate favorite of the 3. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I highly recommend the series if you liked the things that I kind of talked about, and that kind of thing. If you like this video, please consider subscribing, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.